Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live from CES in Vegas. Joining me for this segment, we have Bruce Franklin, Senior Director of Automotive at Nasdaq-listed Micron. We're here to discuss the latest trends and innovations in automotive and why memory and storage are the critical background of that. Bruce, it is great to have you with us. Welcome to TradeTalks. And it's so interesting, this is our third year in the hall here, and it went from EV, cool cars, to everything in automotive now.
Very much an automotive show now,
right?
Isn't it?
And not even just like, what you think of as cool cars, but industrial companies are here. We have Corning over there, we have, John Deere and some fire trucks back there. Exactly. It's amazing how this is just transcended across the industry.
Yes, trucking as well, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what are some of the trends that you're seeing within the automotive innovation space?
Trends in automotive. So definitely autonomy, higher levels of autonomy, which is driving a lot more sensors, a lot more processing power, which is all very much memory starved, right? So great for Micron's business. Safety is another big application for us. Micron's invested a lot in safety. We've changed a complete shift left in our design processes to design for automotive first, so that we are really the only company in the industry that's got fully ISO safety certified memory that we're selling into the automotive space. So automotion, safety, and then of course it's around our supply chain and our partners, right, and our length of supply that we have, making sure that we're meeting the time frames that cars need, 7 to 10 year life cycles of our memory devices. So
it sounds like the automotive architecture itself has evolved in the landscape.
Yes.
Different.
Yeah, I mean, the car of today or yesterday, it really is covered with these, electronic control units all over the car. Mm-hmm. And now you've got sensors all over the car. And all of that is driving a lot of processing power, but a lot of complexity. And so now you're seeing, more zonal type architectures, trying to bring some of that together. That'll evolve into more centralized architectures. And all of that is going to drive, bandwidth, higher need for ruggedization, quality and safety, because as you start packing more and more functionality into a particular unit, right, the requirement for that unit to be reliable goes up and up. Right?
Yeah. Why are memory and storage then the background? Basically the backbone for this, with all the tech stack just continuously growing on the cars.
It's an exciting time. I heard somebody say that this is the most exciting time since the advent of the production line. To be in automotive, which I think is a really
big statement.
Yeah, it is. And with all that processing power, the bandwidth needs and the density needs are really insatiable. And so automotive becomes the memory becomes a bigger and bigger piece of the overall spend. And with that, the importance of it, right, rises.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I'm reading here, you've worked over 30 years in the automotive industry. So it's like, do you have a mechanical background? Do you have a tech background? I mean, the roles themselves are just changing, and how you think about automotive companies and how you think about tech companies, they really cross-pollinate these days.
Yes, so we've been saying 30 years for at least 5 years. So Micron's been in the business since the very beginning. Yeah. And it's a really thing I appreciate from my employer is that it's a core part of what we do. It's not a sideline business for Micron, right? So we design for auto first. Automotive, gets a lot of priority from our executives, and they appreciate that growth that automotive gives to the business and the stability that we get from the automotive business. So with I guess our importance in that whole bill of materials for the OEM, for the tier ones, really for the entire ecosystem, just keeps rising. And I've been
the floor here, how it's transitioned in only 3 years, right?
Right. Yeah, and I've been in the automotive part of Micron for 8 years now, and even in that period of time, the change is tremendous. Yeah. Right. So it's a lot of fun, actually. And by the way, cars are just cool, and so it's a great sector to be able to work in.
Do you actually work with mechanics or get their input from the mechanics and engineers and so forth when you
mechanics and engineers? Oh, that's interesting.
Because their jobs, think about my brother's a Ford certified electrical mechanic, which is apparently a big deal.
Yeah.
But he's a mechanic, not necessarily a tech comp side person. So it's interesting to
certainly their lives must have changed a lot, right? Because I remember being able to do anything on a car myself, which is something I cannot do anymore. But so certainly the complexity and things, I'm sure that the life of a mechanic is much different than it was 15 years ago. I think that we're constantly working with engineers at our tier ones and our OEMs, not necessarily mechanics,
right,
which is service side, which is a very interesting angle.
I mean, because he's essentially like a tech diagnostics person now. So I find it so interesting to hear from Micron, a well-known tech company, prioritizing automotive. And so I think it's really interesting to see. I mean, again, to your point, in the past 8 years, what we're seeing on the floor, you could tell this is a trend that's certainly here to stay.
Yeah, we live in exciting times.
We do, we certainly do. Thanks so much, Bruce. Appreciate the insight. And thanks for joining us from CES. I'm Jill Malandrino.